Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Reality Roundup. Today we're going to be talking about episode 12 of this season of the challenge, Battle of the Eras. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share to help an upcoming podcast. How are you, friend?
I'm good, Maddie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You have the episode name?
I never do. I never ever remember to write down the name. I'm so sorry.
The episode was called "The Era of the Purge."
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're trying to put era in each title, and
An
it,
age
it
title.
it's not working as well as it did for some other.
They're probably running out at this point.
No, for sure. What did you think of the episode?
I liked this episode. It was clearly a continuation of Banana Man's plans and schemes coming to fruition.
Hmm.
Um, and even though I don't like him, he is good at this game.
I
You
must
can.
I've been really liking this season, and watching these last few episodes. This is feeling like prime challenge drama.
Oh,
This is giving me like rivals to free agents houses, like, because the challenge, I mean, you haven't been here, but the challenge has been boring over the last few years, in my opinion,
oh.
honestly. And last season especially was very boring to watch.
Hmm.
um
What made it boring for those of us who don't know?
well, one, we didn't have any of the, it was battle for a new champion, so it was all people that haven't won before, so it was mostly like new era people. I do think they could have done a better job at like balancing it, because it was called battle for a new champion, but like half the cast were like legitimate challenge rookies. It was like their first challenge ever as well too. Like, I think they could have balanced it better with like long time challengers that had never won and like some new faces from other reality shows. Most of the cast were from like other reality television shows, to be honest,
Hmm.
like, and namely like international reality competition shows, like people that we literally never heard of. And the other half of the cast, it was either their first or second challenge. So like,
Yeah.
for example, Horacio, Nerys, and Colleen and Berna, and were all returning for like their second challenge. And then we had people that, or and Chauncey as well too. And then we had people that we like had never seen before, also here.
Hmm.
There was someone from The Only Way is Essex, and it was his first challenge ever. Um,
The British reality show,
yeah,
The Only Way? Oh.
yeah, and I think, was this Ed? No, this was Ed's second season. But there was like, the cast was very new. I would say most people, I would say the most tenured like challengers on there were Jay, Michele, and maybe Mariah, who were all at that point. I think it was Jay's third, Mariah's third
Hmm.
or second. No, yeah, Mariah's second. Mariah started on Ride or Dies, and
So then
Olivia and Michele. So it was like terrible. It was
so
a
then
terrible
what was
cast.
the point of the season? Was it to like literally have
I,
only new people?
Yeah, I mean, that was the gimmick. I do think maybe there was like maybe there was like a consideration to give a lot of these old people a break, probably to just make the challenge 40 more epic, because at least we wouldn't
Mm,
have seen these people for at least a cycle. But it
yeah.
made the show very boring. The politics were very boring. The drama was very boring. There were no real like standouts of the show. Horacio, who had a really good rookie season on Ride or Dies, was back, and you thought it was going to mean like something really good. He didn't really have a good season. Kylan, who has always had like high, how do you say, like high expectations, he had a decent season, but he didn't really have like as good of a season. Like, and then the finals ends up being probably the most, it ends up being like a bunch of like people who just kind of politic their way very well, that made a really strong alliance and then just kind of stayed in, but weren't the best competitors.
Yeah.
And the one guy who was, um really had like any real like challenge, like fortification from previous
Hmm.
competition. And he ran away with the final. And the one hero of the season, Nerys, came in second place, and and the whole time you're watching it just to see Nerys win, and she doesn't.
Hmm. Who won?
Do you want to know? I thought we were gonna watch.
Oh, just kidding. I didn't.
Well,
What?
you probably won't remember. And also I don't care. His name is Emmanuel.
Okay.
You'll see him if we do go through and rewatch the whole show. Well, not the whole show. From we don't need to see the first 10 seasons. Trust me.
That's a lot.
Yes, it's a lot, but it'll go fast. I promise
Mhm.
you. Emmanuel, I forgot what I was gonna say. If we do go and see the whole show, you'll get introduced to him. You won't see him for a few challenges, and then he'll come back for this. You'll barely remember him, and then you'll remember, oh yeah, he was kind of good, wasn't he? Uh, and then he's hidden for most of the season, and he just makes an appearance in the like last 3 or 4 episodes, like really strong. And once the first day of the finals are over, like
Hmm.
once we get about a third of the way into the second day of the finals, it's like very clear that
He's
no one's
running away
gonna
with
catch
it.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I will say that brings me
Hmm.
to another thing, and I'll talk about this when we do our rewatch. But like, we need to go back to single day finals. The 2 day finals have been killing us the last couple of years. That's also why some of those seasons have been boring recently. The double day finals, it was a wonderful like novelty. It was a wonderful concept. It was a real shakeup when it was introduced in Rivals, because it was
Hmm.
like the first time we've ever done that. It was a shock for the contestants. They had this really big like finals day one, and then they get to the top of the mountain. They think they're getting to their win, and then they pull the thing, and it's like, all right, like you got another day to compete, like make your sleeping arrangements, and they're like, oh my god,
Make
there's
your
this like
sleeping arrangements is crazy.
yes, they had to like one person had to stay up the entire time. It was in pairs of twos, and one person had to stay up the whole time. One person had to be up at all times, so they one person would be up while the other sleeping, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, they would have to like balance, and then when they fell off, they'd have to go wake their teammate up to, and have their teammate go balance while they slept. So people were trying to like balance for hours at a time, but like there was one person that literally like as soon as they stepped up, they like their teammate barely even laid in the bed, they fell off again, and they had to like switch. None of that really matters.
Oh my God. Well, are we ready to talk about this episode
Yes, we
of this
are.
season?
Yes, we are. What were your thoughts? That's where we started this conversation when we
Yes.
got sidetracked.
Banana Man, which is just fun to say now at this point in time, he really did play these people. He played them quite well. He seems kind of like whiny a little bit this episode, but he did his chickens are coming home to, well, no, that's not the right saying. The seeds that he planted are sprouting and they seem to be sprouting effectively.
Expound on that. What do you mean by that?
I'm just thinking about our conversation last week. Um, like he tried very hard to sow discord, like emotional discord, really,
Mm-hmm.
last episode, and it seems to still be bothering people, right? Now, it's kind of about whether or not it worked in his favor this episode, but people are still mad and making decisions based on being mad.
Which decisions are you talking about? I really don't know what you're talking about right now.
I feel like we are, for the second week in a row, we are so concentrated on Bananas and Tori like hating each other.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like he did a good job of shaking people up last episode. And I think people are still mad about the shakeup and the drama this
Who are
episode.
the people? Just everyone in general.
I feel like everyone is, well, except for Bananas Angels.
Okay.
Well, with the exception of, well, we'll get to Laurel.
Um,
That was funny as hell.
yeah, so I think this was always going to be this way. Whether this what's going on this week, I think would have always happened whether Bananas said what he said in the club last week or not.
Well,
um,
fam.
I think once Tori took a shot at Bananas,
Mm-hmm.
the lines were drawn,
Mm-hmm.
and once those lines are drawn, like and people pick their side, everybody on either side it's in everyone's interest to stick with their sides at least for the next few votes. At least
Yes.
while there are other options available, but Bananas was always going to have to win out to get to the finals, and it's not going to be any different on a guy's day in 2 weeks unless he wins the daily. That's
Mm-hmm.
basically his only path to the finals now is to win the daily, or he's going into elimination, and he has to win
Yeah.
the the elimination round. I think the other thing about that is if he does win the elimination round and he puts target, he's forced to put targets on women that he's not working with,
Mm-hmm.
guaranteeing that at least one of the people going into into the
Mm-hmm.
elimination round is possibly somebody he's not working with. And if that person wins, or if they go
Yeah.
against each other, that person's just going to throw it back on him. So he
If he
really,
doesn't win, yeah.
yeah, if he doesn't win, he really just doesn't have any other option.
Yeah. And there are
Unless
not
it
that
went,
many people left.
I think the other thing that's sort of like killing him too, though, is that he doesn't have any male allies. Nehemiah was
Yes.
a bit of a floater there. We didn't really know what a Nehemiah win day would look like, whether Nehemiah would still take a shot at bananas or somebody else, which I don't think he would have.
Mm.
But I think that the fact that bananas really doesn't have any male allies, so basically now he's relying upon one of his angels winning and maybe a floater. And for again, for that, I would only kind of see Nehemiah as a
Yeah.
floater that would swing his way. Maybe Corey would swing his way and take a shot at like um Theo or who's left, Theo or Jordan or Josh. I mean, Corey and Josh had a little dust up
Mm-hmm.
this season earlier, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe Corey would. Josh would be interesting in a win position. If I'm Josh, I'm not winning. None of the girls are gonna throw a target on you. The guys
Yeah.
aren't really looking at you. All the boys want you in the final because they all think they can beat you. If I'm Josh,
Exactly.
just stay out of last place, get to the end, and then do what you got to do. Josh looked good in the little mini finals today too, the first little part.
Yeah.
So let's get started with the episode. So the episode starts with we see Michele kind of talking about possible people that she's not working with and people that she can kind of like what her
Mm.
plans would be if she got power or she could influence power. It seems like she's coming for Josh and Cara. I don't know if you got that from.
Well, not to skip too far, well, to skip to the end a little bit. Like she seems very unhappy with Josh.
Well, even
Um,
aside from that, like I do want to talk about that when we get to the elimination round. Like
mhm.
aside from that, like when she's talking about, I don't remember the exact clip, but when she's talking about her plans, and I think she's talking to Olivia and Theo, she's like
Mm,
she makes
mm,
a point to mention Cara's name, which is like very obvious. Or pulling them in. I'm sorry, not people to target, but people to pull in. She
mhm.
talks about Cara, who's kind of floating, getting somebody like that on their side, and then maybe Josh, a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit.
giving, she doesn't use the word Misfits Alliance, but she says some version of that when she's talking to Olivia and Theo, like the people who are left,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
leftovers.
Who hasn't been like clearly put on the side? Who's floating
Yep.
right now?
Yep.
And then so that's what I really wanted to talk about, the different factions that are forming in the house. So we have Bananas Angels, and then on the kind of like periphery of that, maybe Nehemiah and maybe Corey, because they both did have a conversation with Rachel
Rachel, yeah.
over the last 2 weeks. But we
Hmm.
see Nehemiah clearly talking to Bananas about, their era being targets.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the house, we have, help me out, Tori, Jordan, and who are they working with?
Ooh.
Kyland,
Kyland, Olivia,
Olivia, Michele,
Theo.
Theo.
No?
So like it seems
Yeah.
like in that whole group, Tori and Jordan kind of got each other. Tori,
Yeah.
Jordan, and Kylan have kind of formed a troika of sorts, and
Yeah.
then Theo, Olivia, and Michele have formed their own little like three-person cluster here too, a
Yeah.
part of that larger you know like that larger era 3 era 4
Hmm.
alliance. And then you have the Derek C's and the Joshes and like and
Derek C. Josh,
Cara, because I
Cara.
saw Cara kind of being included in some of those conversations that they were having, even though she was included in some of those era 2 conversations
Yeah.
as well too. So I think I don't know how that's going to shake out. Like that's what I'm really curious about is what happens when one of those people win? Like we know what happens when Tori and Jordan win, they're targeting bananas.
Yeah.
What happens when Josh or Derek wins, or even like if a Michele wins? Where are they going for men and women? Who are they
That
working
is a
with?
very good question. I feel like Josh, and we talked about this earlier this season, that Josh is trying to be on everyone's almost everyone's good side all at once. And so it to me it still isn't clear like who his absolute favorites are, except for maybe remnants of the vacation plans. Um, that would be what I would think his
I
top
don't
priority would be,
I
but I'm
don't
not.
think I don't think Josh has a guy. And I think that
You
if
don't think
push
he would protect Jordan for Tori?
if he could protect Jordan without it directly firing back on Bananas, I think he would. But I think if it's between
Mm.
Jordan and Bananas, he might go Bananas.
Out of
Uh,
fear?
Out of Josh Martinez strategy, which I never know why Josh is making the strategic decisions he is. I think
Yeah.
he's just like he sits with someone, they say something to him, they make him cry, and he's like, I owe them my life and my firstborn child, and that's I must save them. And then
Which,
the
you
very
know, which is why he had Bananas back earlier this season.
yeah, I mean, and historically, why he's had most of the people's backs he's just like he gets in the room, somebody yells at him real quick, he cries a little bit, and then he's like, I must prove my loyalty to them.
Oh my gosh, that is exactly what that is. I mean, I don't want to sound mean, and anybody could win, that's true, but I actually am kind of thinking of it like, are we even thinking that Josh or Derek is going to win anything anytime soon?
I don't know. I expected Derek to do better in this purge than he did.
He
And
started really strong.
I do want to talk about that. I mean, I guess we can almost get there. The last thing I want to mention, because
Mm.
we'll have more time to talk about these like strategic implications after this
After
chambers.
elimination.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see Laurel? I mean, not Laurel. Did you see Rachel doing a slide puzzle when she was on the stairs?
Yes, I did. And I was like, finally, somebody is practicing some math.
Everybody practices puzzles. I was like, but I was like, this is a vet move. Like, I want to know how she got that slide puzzle and if that's kosher because I don't think that's like permissible within the rules. I don't think you can like bring your own puzzles or that they
In
have that
practice?
there. They've never for as long as I've been watching the show, I have never seen a practice station for a puzzle or like puzzle games in the house that contestants could practice.
So, like, you couldn't bring like a Sudoku book?
You can't bring anything. You can't bring magazines, books. You can't bring stuff for entertainment, let alone
You can't bring a book?
no. You like they want you to go talk to people and then they want y'all to get annoyed with each other and then start arguing so they can have stuff to film.
Okay, T fair. That's fair.
Like
That's
they're trying to
completely.
force contestants to interact with each other and create more drama.
My God,
Yeah.
that's
So
horrible.
like explicitly in the rules, like you can't bring anything into the house. Um, like you could, but they'll have like workout equipment, so they'll help you train
Hmm.
your body, but they don't typically help you train your mind for the
It's a very
challenge.
good question. I mean, they zoom in on it, which means like
I'm
they
assuming
know
it was
she
there.
has it.
No, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I'm assuming it was there. I don't think she brought it in, but I'm like, why haven't we been doing this the whole time?
I mean, if not for just the reason of giving somebody something to do, damn,
No,
I don't want to talk to you
they
people
want them to talk to each
24/7.
other. Worst case scenario is everybody is in a corner just like practicing their Sudoku like their tanagrams. That'd be a very boring show.
It would be a very boring show, but oh Lord, that frightens me.
That's so
Mm-mm-mm.
funny. Okay, let's get to the challenge. Are you ready to move to that?
Yes, ma'am. I incorrectly wrote the title down. I wrote Doomed, but I don't know what the actual title is.
It is called Doomed.
It doesn't have a longer title than Doomed?
Duned. Doomed.
You sure?
Yeah, because we're running over sand dunes. I wrote it here and I have
Okay,
the
because I
games
thought
up.
somebody said something else. Doomed, okay. It was a mini final, which this is my first time viewing a mini final. And so it was like a multi-station kind of competition that
Mhm.
involved all of your favorite things, including long distance running, puzzles, physical challenges. And it was also a purge, which meant that the last woman and the last man
Mhm.
to lose outright were gone, period. And then the second to last person would therefore become last place and have to go into elimination. Yes, did I
Yes.
get that right?
The second to last male would go in elimination, and the second to
Oh,
last
because it was guys week.
yes, and the second
Yes,
to last woman to finish would have the penalty for
for the
Netflix
next
challenge.
challenge. Yes. And
Would
also we find out, or at least I find out, I think Michele talks about it at some point in time, that this is like literally the day after the last elimination. And I
yeah.
was just like, oh damn, okay, we're moving, we're grooving.
Yeah, that happens from time to time. Sometimes there's a day or two between. Sometimes there isn't. It just depends on the filming schedule. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes too the setup of the upcoming daily
Oh,
as
absolutely.
well.
I can see that. Because some of these are more complicated than others.
Do you have the checkpoints?
Ooh, let's see if I can free recall the checkpoint. So we start with a run where we have to run to like a for lack of a better term, like a sandbox. I mean, we're in the dunes, but it was like a
Mm-hmm.
boxed off area where everyone had to dig for a key to a lock, run to your paddleboard. The key was for unlocking your paddleboard. You get on your paddleboard, you paddle, 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 to oh wait. Oh, you paddle to a puzzle. And there was a memory puzzle,
Yeah.
and they reused those boats from the beginning of the season for something. And you had to like memorize like the eras in order, but in order of the way that they were under the boats. You had to do that, and then you had to like run more distance, and then you were done.
Yes, correct. Correct.
Yes,
So, like you said, when we get out in this challenge, Derek, who we found out on All Stars 4, is quite the runner because they had this other challenge where he really just crushed it on that season. He gets out right in front.
he did. Yes, it does
And
not hold
surprise,
on to that.
like the usual suspects, Derek is up front in that lead, first one to the sandbox. Jordan's right behind him. Josh, inexplicably, is also up there in the top three.
Mhm.
This I didn't expect. Um,
And Theo does not get to start because he had a
oh
2 minute
yes, correct.
penalty.
Theo had the penalty from last week, so he had a 2 minute time penalty. He essentially had to wait at the start line for two
Hmm.
minutes, and then he couldn't start until 2 minutes after everybody was in. So people
Hmm.
were already working on this end, which lets me know that this run was probably under like 800 meters if all of them were able to get there in 2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, just the fact that it's in sand is and it's high is enough to.
Yes. I was just for me, I was glad to see that people were had water packs that they had like attached to them because I was like, my God, just running in the desert like this.
Every time.
Um, well, I mean, I'm new to this. The whole point of this is that I don't know anything else. Um, and I thought it was interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the 2 minute penalty, him not being able to start, I feel like other penalties so far, time penalties so far, have been like taken off of your final time.
Yes.
Am I okay? Because
Well, we've
well,
only seen one penalty enacted, right? Because we just switched to an individual game 2 weeks ago. So we saw it
yeah,
on Michele, and Michele, it's just
yeah,
the nature of the. We've seen both, and both are very common in a finals type, like in a checkpoint type race. It's
mm-hmm.
very common that you serve your penalty by waiting at a checkpoint
Mm.
or being delayed start and versus them adding it, tacking it onto your time
Well,
at the
because it
end.
wasn't a timed event, was it?
I
Really?
mean,
Like you,
so it was like it. I get what you're saying, but like I do want to mention this when we get there. We saw the time for every. Nope, we're good.
oh,
We saw the time for every single person who finished and how long it took them. Why can't
yes.
we get this in every other like time
I knew
competition?
that. That's my point. I was like, I knew you were going to say it. You were going to say one of two things. One, that people timed out on things, or that you like, why couldn't we get it? Because that
I'm
was,
not I'm not asking for anything that the show hasn't done before. This
yes.
is what we did from like I don't know, when did we start this? I I don't have a really good recollection of like the first 5 seasons of this show, but certainly since like the
Okay.
Gauntlet and all the way up to like Free Agents, it was very commonplace for us to anytime we had like an obstacle course or a timed event of some sort, it was very common for us to see the time of most of the contestants. They wouldn't show us all the contestants, right? Because they
Hmm.
wanted to maintain. But at the end, when TJ revealed the winner, they would just throw up a leaderboard and be like, this is what everybody's time was. You can see how
Yeah.
everybody ranked. And I think it just forces some transparency
Some
for
transparency, some clarity. Absolutely. I
yeah.
mean, this series of chirons during this challenge was really helpful, including people being like labeled, because obviously they're just like a macro view of people running in the desert. The little target symbol to remind me who was the target. Like this is what I would like
This
all of
is
the
good sports.
time.
This is good sports presentation. Like
Yes,
this is
yes.
this is every sport you watch, right?
It was so
Like
much easier to understand.
yeah. I don't, yes, that's correct.
Yes.
So we see that first checkpoint. I think getting out of that first checkpoint, they do give us like the first 5 women and the first 5 men. Bananas is the
Mm-hmm.
first person out.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jenny and Rachel are right behind them. Tori, I do want to say this. Tori, I don't know what Tori does for training, but she always owns it on the water. I don't know why she's so good at paddling, but this is maybe the third or fourth time in her challenge career where she's been like behind and made up a lot of time on a water and in a boat, like
Maybe
in a
she just
kayak of
paddle
some
boards for
sort.
fun.
Yeah, like I don't know that they've talked enough about like Tori's experience with with rowing, but she seems to be exceptional at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the lead that she opens up on Jenny and Rachel, like they
Mm.
leave before her. I think Jenny even leaves like significant ahead of her as far as like from what the edit is telling us.
Yeah.
And when they pan out to that view, like Tori is past that small little island and Jenny still hasn't gotten there yet. Yeah, and she just
Absolutely crushed it, Miss Deal.
yeah, she just made up that road down river so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, only things coming from here, we got our girl Aviv struggling. We got a bunch of people that don't know how to dig in sand for some reason that just keep letting sand fall
Again,
into
and
their.
let's pause right there because I was baffled, befuddled, and bewildered because I was like, nobody's been to a beach before as a child and needed and like dug. You've got to move the sand out of the hole.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will fall back in because gravity exists. I was so, and this is like such a contrast to me because if you disagree, obviously let me know. But I feel like this season we like haven't seen Cara crush it in any sort of way. And in
I
fact,
agree.
she's getting worse.
I agree. I am really shocked with Cara's performance here, and I spent a lot of time talking
Oh,
about how
so
I didn't
true.
think that like Anissa and Katie and all these people were going to do anything because they just were one, they haven't really done much
Mm-hmm.
um in the like in recently in their challenge careers, but like they also were kind of out of shape. I don't know what's going on with Cara. Cara looks fit enough, but like
Yes.
Cara's not here mentally. I don't know if it's like that Paulie
Yes.
is gone or something like that. But like same thing with Theo as well. So Theo is like not as fit as we've seen him in the past, but he's also
Mm-hmm.
not here mentally. Like he's kind of checked in with Olivia, but Cara really just seems to not have any of that hunger um at all. I think
Can I say
Cara
something
Cara
moderately
Cara
controversial?
go ahead.
I thinking about it in terms of confessionals, even though I don't know if they're doing like one retrospective confessional, but to me, it seems like she just hasn't been there mentally since the fight with Laurel. Like before the fight with Laurel, like she had a lot more energy, like she was a lot less self-deprecating in her confessional. But ever since the fight with Laurel, I feel like she's like not there.
That's a good point. That might be it. I mean, yeah, that might be it. I don't know what's going on with Cara Maria, but I
That's
need
where I think the change
I need you
happened.
to show up real quick, like real fast.
Especially with
Um,
things that like you've shown me from previous challenges or challenge seasons. I'm just kind of like, what is going on? Like she seems, and I noticed it at like maybe two or three episodes in confessional ago, or two, 3 episodes ago in confessional, where I was like, she seems sad. Like she just genuinely seems sad. And I don't think it's Polly because Polly's been gone since the beginning.
I don't. I wonder what Cara's like best season is. But I just looked it up. Cara has 43 daily wins so far in the individual portion of this game. She has 0 wins.
0. Oh my God. I
I
don't
guess
think
I
she's
should. I mean, I
there.
should really only look at the like even on All Stars. Like she had that first win, but she was pretty much safe. I mean, they were targeting her at points, but she was pretty much safe the whole
Because
thing.
our first challenge out of the gate, which was the invitational, she beats everybody, including Bananas, right? Like she, or maybe it's not the invitational, but she was doing much better. And yeah, Polly leaves, but I don't see the change happening after Polly leaves. I think it happens after she gets in that fight with Laurel, because as we talked about in that episode of the pod, the fight with Laurel was way worse than we saw on TV. Um, in terms of the edit. Like they edited Laurel out. They edited Laurel saying even worse things out of the situation.
Yeah,
And I just think that she's not there since then.
I think her best season was Dirty 30 as far as like daily performance. Maybe Bloodlines, but that was like mostly in teams. I think most of the dailies were performed. Were they performed in teams? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They were because they put they screwed that up royally. Um, yes, Yeah, Cara, I need you to get it together, babe. Like
Yeah.
that's all I can say. I need you to get in the room with us. Um
Did we know Jenny had asthma?
I think I did.
Okay, because I was like, oh, this
when
is
she
the answer to the
when she
question.
pulled that inhaler out, I was like, I do vaguely remember. But the reason like I kept thinking this whole season, I was like, Jenny can't be that out of shape. Let me pull up Jenny's little player card because I feel like Jenny was she on War of the Worlds 1? No, she wasn't. Okay, that's why. Okay, okay. So on War of the Worlds 1, there was this like the first challenge. I think it's War of the Worlds 1. Maybe it was Vendettas. But the first challenge that they had was basically the first like their introduction into the game was essentially a purge. Everybody had to like run up like straight up a hill, like vertical. I think they were in like I always want to say Croatia, but
You keep saying Croatia. What is going on? Has the
I
challenge
don't
been to
know.
the Croatia that many times?
I mean, it's been enough that I like really remember it because they went like almost back to back like recently,
Hmm.
but they I think the first time they went to Croatia was I don't know. It doesn't matter. Um, but we have been to Croatia multiple times.
Hmm.
But they had to essentially run up to a castle. That's why I think Croatia because I think about castles. But they had to like run up to a castle,
Hmm.
and it's like a dead incline. It's like maybe I don't know how long it is. It's like maybe a mile long,
Oh, hell no.
straight up an incline.
Jesus.
And the last person to finish was automatically eliminated. And I was like, Jenny didn't get eliminated because it was Rogan, but she wasn't on that season. So that's why I was like, if she could do that,
Mm.
surely she can do the rest of this. And she's in better
Mm.
shape, but she wasn't on that season at all.
Yeah,
I do
her asthma seems to have
I
her
think
in a
about it, I
grip.
do vaguely remember like a challenge from War of the Worlds where I think she pulled out an asthma pump after the challenge as well too.
Yeah, because she pulls it out like, well,
You
and
got to do more cardio, Jenny. You got to do more cardio.
I'm not saying that's not true, but I was like, oh, this explains like a lot. Because
Yeah,
she, yeah,
yeah, for
because
sure. I mean,
they were like, girl, you need to have your asthma inhaler on
it
you.
explains it for sure. But like, I also just feels like she doesn't do enough cardio anyway, and then add it on to that the
Well, she's a
asthma.
muscle mommy.
Um, that's so funny.
That's I wrote that down specifically to ask you because I was like, you are the number one Jenny endurance concern hater this season. And I was
Well, I'm
like,
not a
oh,
hater. I just don't trust the edit because I'm like I've seen
fair
Jenny
enough.
compete on multiple seasons, and I don't think I've ever seen Jenny wheezing as often as they've edited and shown her wheezing. This must come into play somehow later on. Like, and
Yeah.
then, yeah, this has to pay off some point where she like loses something or just barely misses out because of
Yes, part of the
her
narrative,
her
Jenny's
breathing
narrative.
issue. Well, I guess the next thing is we get to checkpoint 2 where they have to like match the seasons with whatever's under the
Hmm.
boats. After they park their paddles and run a
Hmm.
little bit. It was hard for me to follow this part. I think this is one of the parts where I checked out on because
Hmm.
they didn't show me what was underneath, so I couldn't really like tell how
No,
well
yeah.
anybody was doing. Um,
Because Bananas gets there first.
and he struggles a
Yeah,
bit. A quick
a
little
lot of it.
underneath, hey, bananas got 14 correct, you know what I'm saying, out of 40. Like it would have did me a
Hmm.
world of good, but y'all didn't want me to know, so I stopped paying attention.
Yeah, not at all, at least with Bananas. And this is where Laurel loses her damn mind.
Yeah.
And I am so excited to talk to you about this
Yeah,
because
go ahead. You first.
I, you know, I'm the number one Laurel hater in the Western Hemisphere. I can't
Mm-hmm.
stand her. But this was the most relatable Laurel has ever been because I think I
You
would
know this
crack
was
up.
relatable. This was the most disgraceful Laurel has ever been on this show to me.
I knew you were going to say that, but I, for the first time ever, I am in lockstep with Laurel because I think I would disintegrate just like this. I'm
Oh
not
my
even going to
god.
lie. I know it's disgraceful, but I think that I would break up, crack up just like this.
I think Cara clocked her tea entirely. Like
Oh, yes,
as soon
yes.
as I saw Laurel after the like first little run, I was like, oh, she's not in shape for this. And Laurel is prideful, if not anything else. And
Well, she's doing a lot of walking.
Laurel's legacy is also being the the beast of the show, right? Like
Hmm.
the fearless, tenacious. That's her strength. I will say I have Laurel is in my top 10 for female competitors
Hmm.
because of her accomplishment, but like she's not like very high up in that top 10. I think a lot of people for a number of years probably had her as number one, and like many people still do. I don't think
Hmm.
Laurel has ever been that impressive in a challenge. I think Laurel has won largely because of her size and her intimidation and her tenacity. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
there have been a lot of women casted on the show, especially in the time when Laurel was very active, that
Hmm.
could compete with Laurel
Yes.
in the sand just because of her size. I mean, she's like 5'9", 5'10". She's
Hmm.
very, I mean, she's a former athlete. She's very tenacious. She is quite aggressive. But I don't think she's ever really been like a really, I think Nehemiah said this about Naya. Like, I don't think Naya won a lot because she was like a skillful challenger. I don't think Laurel won a lot either because she was like a skillful challenger. Laurel is smart
Interesting.
though. Like, she's intelligent, so she's decent at puzzles. She's pretty well rounded as a competitor, but I've never been like really impressed with Laurel the way that I've been with like, like an Emily Schramm or an Evelyn
Hmm.
or even like a Coral in her heyday, as much as Coral's like a loudmouth. She is really good. Even Sarah, like Sarah came into her own quite a bit later on the show. I wish she would come back. Um,
But I do agree with you that I think Cara absolutely
yeah,
clocked her T
I
immediately,
I
and
think this
I
is
was cackling.
well.
Oh my God.
I was gonna say I think this is the first time that Laurel has played on a season. Well, maybe not. Maybe World of the Worlds too. This is the first time that really Laurel has been at this point in the game,
Hmm.
and it's everybody. Everybody got smoke. She Laurel let me pull up Laurel's card because I do feel like, especially on Free Agents, which I think is her, that is like the signature Laurel performance.
Hmm.
Um, is Free Agents. That's probably her best. Maybe like some people will say Cutthroats, but I think Free Agents is her first win, and she is dominant in that entire season for the entire season. Like it's like after like episode one, you're like Laurel is getting to the finals. She's winning this thing. No one in the world is gonna stop her. Um,
Yeah, she doesn't have that. She's not going to run away with it. And I think that's part of what Kara's point is that Laurel's kind of maybe used to running away with it. Like not
yeah,
never getting challenged, but like
no, never,
being, well, there we go.
or rarely, but never.
Rarely. But that's not what this season is cracking up to be.
Yeah, I think she's looking around and she's seeing it. She's seeing herself in the bottom or whatever. Um, and I do think like there's a part of her that has to be thinking too. Even if I finish this before
Mhm.
Michele, if I don't finish it way ahead of Michele, I don't know if like how much of a run is left. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to run that entire thing. I don't know that Michele doesn't
Yeah.
catch up to me and pass
Yeah.
me. So maybe I just say, "Oh, I quit. I beat myself," instead of,
And
and
honestly, T, because I like this is the first and only time Laurel has ever been relatable to me where I'm like, yeah, I think I would give up in this, including Cara clocking her T. I think I would give up in this situation like
so
this.
Laurel has was her eighth challenge battle battle of the airs.
Her
Prior to
eighth
that,
her eighth season?
her eighth season.
Okay.
Yes. So she went to three straight finals in her first three, one on her fourth time, and since then she hasn't been back to the finals. She's been
Oh.
eliminated. She's been eliminated in the elimination rounds in the last three challenges that she played, and
Mm-hmm.
then she's been purged out of this one. I have, and I think especially like
Given
coming into this,
decline.
seeing her performances on Invasion, War of the Worlds 2, and Ride or Dies, I didn't think Laurel had a chance of winning. I think I said that last week, but I was like, hey, you never know. She's a champ for a reason. You can't count her out. But I don't think I ever really believed that Laurel had a chance of winning. I thought she might make it to a finals.
In
Because
this
I
season?
yeah, I thought she'd make it to a final. I think if this purge hadn't been there, she'd probably be at the finals because I don't think nobody would call her out directly for an elimination round because
Mm-hmm.
her legend really does precede her.
Mm-hmm.
If
But
she hadn't
it also
lost,
seems like there's a decline though with the stats that you just gave me.
her reputation precedes her in such a way that I cannot see any woman who's like going in there and has another option
Hmm.
calling her out unless that other option is Tori or Cara. Like
Gotcha.
I think if Laurel and Olivia are the two targets, every other woman in that house would choose Olivia before Laurel. If Laurel and Michele are the targets,
Yeah,
like
I see what you mean.
if Laurel and Aviv are the targets, I think most people would rather go up against Aviv or
Yes.
even like Rachel or like maybe depending on the competitor they may choose. I don't think I think she would have been in a finals if she hadn't been purged, because
Mm.
if she could have went through the rest of the season without going getting last place amongst the women on a women's day
Hmm.
and without obviously getting purged, I don't think anyone throws her in. She also has good relationships with like every man in the house, for the most part as well too, where I don't see
Mm.
them. And I think people still think that Laurel can like do it. I didn't think that though.
Oh my gosh. And this was, and also I don't have to
This was
get,
pitiful. I would like I
I
don't
know.
mind like we make a big deal on this show about quitters. You'll know TJ hates quitters if you didn't know that. TJ absolutely hates quitters. He didn't tear into Laurel today though. But we make a big deal on this show about quitters. I don't necessarily tend to care that much. It depends on the person and their reason for quitting, but I think this was like pitiful that she didn't even go out trying. Like it's
No,
one thing to
she,
get beaten and it's another thing to like
the edit starts
give
to
up.
set it up that she's quitting because when she's, I mean, a lot of other people are also walking, but we keep seeing like clips of Laurel during the puzzle, just like walking back and forth and like muttering to herself about how she doesn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh, because I didn't think to myself about whether or not you were allowed to quit. I didn't know if that was like against the rules or something. And so I was just like, oh, and then when she was just finally like, I don't want to do this anymore, it's torture. I was like, oh, we're just giving up. Like we're just saying no more. We're taking last place no matter what else happens to anyone else.
Yeah. And the reason why I think this is like sad and pitiful because I think if Laurel had been in third place amongst the women,
Mm.
um, that she walks, she whatever, but she still gets it done. I think knowing that she was going to lose, she tried to save face by being like, "Oh, like I don't even care about being here anymore." You would have cared about being here if you weren't going to be like, I don't even really want to talk about it anymore.
That's fine. I just thought it was funny as hell.
um,
Who wins this time? Or who wins the mini final?
Kylan is the first one to finish.
Hmm.
Um, so he wins for the men. Jordan
Hmm.
is right behind him, but his second place isn't good enough. And then Tori finishes, I think third overall, but she's the first woman to finish. God, I was so disappointed when Tori when Tori won. Um,
Really? I was
yeah, like I wanted her to be up for a target. I want to see Tori as a target. Like I
oh.
yeah, like I because Bananas would have probably gone in anyway. Well, maybe not if Rachel would have won. Maybe it would have been different because it would have been Kylan and Rachel.
Mm.
Um, up there, and Theo was in last place. And who was the other person that was? Oh, Jordan. That would have been interesting,
Yeah.
actually.
Wait, no, Theo's second to last.
Yeah, I mean, we don't care about the people that are going home. They're no longer here, so Theo's last place.
Oh, sorry, Nehemiah.
Love you, Nehemiah. Come back on All Stars. That's where you need to be anyway with the
I
O
like
head.
Nehemiah. He did not bother me all
I've
season.
always loved Nehemiah. Real World Austin since his Real World season. I've always
Mm,
loved Nehemiah.
my little yogi.
He was a thug back in the day.
Oh my.
Well, he wasn't a thug. He was just dressing like an inner city youth. Baggy pants, 3XL white tee, and
3XL
bandana.
white tee. Oh my gosh. I missed that period of time.
uh, and making out with an evil white woman who was always really entertaining. Love you, Beth.
So, oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go
Go ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just so Nehemiah and Laurel are purged, and
Yeah,
then last place becomes Theo, so he's automatically going in, and who get Michelle?
Michelle.
And so Michelle gets the penalty because this was a guys' week. And then we go into Chambers, but like Chambers doesn't really mean anything because Tori won, and so everyone's like, well, she's gonna pick bananas.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
women get the last say anyway, so
yeah. So we get a rematch of Bananas and Theo. Classic, not a classic. Do you want to get right into elimination round, or do you want to talk about anything else from here?
you pro. Oh no, you froze. Say that again.
Do you want to get right into the elimination round, or do you want to talk about anything else
I just
prior?
wanted to say that in Chambers, when he was clipping his toenails on the table, I was disgusted and frightened.
Very disturbed.
Very disturbed.
If
That
I
was
was a
so
producer, I
gross.
would have stopped him. I know it's like good TV, but like, God, that's like just so
It's nasty.
that's nasty as
And
hell.
then
And
he
he,
blew his toenails at Tori. That was really crazy.
yeah, and he was like trimming his beard and stuff too. Yeah,
Ugh, I didn't like
it
that.
was a little too much. Like he went a little too far. I would have preferred if he just been like, I'm not participating in this and left versus doing that. That's
But
so
yeah,
disgusting.
that was real gross, real
Um,
nasty. But yes, into elimination. Oh, wait, no, one more thing about pre-chambers. Derek's wig was really made me very happy when Derek had his Sisterhood of the Traveling Wig moment. I loved it.
fascinating.
Yes. It gave Josh a new hairline. So,
I think Josh cut his hair now.
well,
So
mhm.
the elimination. You ready for this?
Yes, I wrote it down as called Cramped, but I don't know if it had a longer title than that.
Cramped out.
Okay, Cramped Out. So you had like a very scary hamster box kind of looking situation that was like plexiglass.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be completely honest, the rules did not make sense to me until Michele explained them in confessional. So let me give this a try. You had the box, and
Like a
you,
hexagon.
yes, like a hexagon, and
Uh,
there were
uh,
holes in it where
a
you had to put
tunnel. A clear hexagonal tunnel. There we
yes,
go.
a clear oh my God,
Do it.
hexagonal, whatever it is, tunnel, and then you had to put poles in it to make it difficult for your opponent to pass like through the tunnel under a time constraint. The part that I still don't get is I don't understand high low.
Have you never played high low before?
Absolutely not. I hate card games.
Oh, so high low is essentially like we saw bananas cut the deck. So you would shuffle
Hmm.
the deck or whatever, and then cut it in a
The world's
random
most
place.
comically large cards.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then you'd pick, like the dealer would pick a card, and then the
Mm.
guesser would guess whether the next card was going to be higher or lower than the current card that's being shown.
Gotcha.
And then if you're correct, like da da da, da you can collect the cards or da da, you know. But in this
Yes.
case, if you were correct, you won yourself an extra poll.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's it. So basically, the strategy is if someone picks a three, you know, the only cards in a deck that are lower than three are one and two.
Hmm.
So you would guess high. I mean, ace and two. So you would guess high.
Hmm.
Um, you know, because the chances that it's a higher card than three are much greater than the chances that it's a lower card. If someone
Okay,
picks
gotcha.
seven, that's a little bit more, or like eight, somewhere in the middle, that's a little bit more.
Okay.
There was one where someone guessed like bananas. I think it was a six or something, and he like, I think he just like overthought it, and they guessed low, and I was like, come on, like let's be real. But
Mm.
yeah, it's a statistic game essentially. Like you're just
Hmm.
doing uh quick statistics in your head and being like, what are the chances that the next card is higher or lower than this
Yes.
number? And then you guess.
And again, with the world's most comically large cards I've ever seen in my life,
Yeah.
which Banana takes into a confessional. Anyway, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, he's on the sand at that point when he has that card,
Yeah, with
the
his little
king.
card. And I was like, you're being very dramatic. But
Um,
then,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say, and then there's a time constraint, but like the first few rounds are 1 minute to get through the tunnel. And then at some point in time, you have 30 seconds to get through the tunnel. And that ends up being the deciding factor.
Yes. Well, that and the fact that I think Bananas is up a poll or two on Theo in that round. So basically,
They reach even at some point.
yes, and then Banana regains the lead.
Oh,
I
okay.
think they
Yes.
even up once more time, but like I think at that point Bananas is in the lead.
Hmm.
It's either one or two because I didn't really recall.
Hmm.
So essentially, like you said, they have to pass through this tunnel, and on each panel of the tunnel, that I think there's like anyway places for each other to stick the poles in to block off segments of the essentially creating an obstacle course for their opponent to get
Hmm.
through. And then every time they pass through, they both start with five or four. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't recall. But every time they pass through, they play a game of high low, and
Hmm.
whoever wins the round of high low gets two poles, and the loser gets one. So
Hmm.
Bananas gets out to a really nice lead where he wins the first three rounds. So he's getting double the amount of poles as Theo. So he's up three poles
Hmm.
on Theo. Theo does come back, even it out, and then I think Bananas pulls forward once more,
Yeah.
either by 1 or 2 rounds. So
And
by
Theo's
the
maneuverability was fantastic.
yeah, I it was actually. It seemed like Theo's size wasn't going to be like as much of an impeding factor
Hmm.
in the game
Hmm.
as you may assume that would be, because he's larger than Bananas. But by the end of it, it really did just come down to, I think, Bananas just being up one pull, and Theo getting hung up. He got caught up a little bit
Hmm.
somewhere in the middle. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I was trying to watch for this, but I think Theo like changed his route up at some point, but there was like space on the left side because like he had been kind of weaving in and out, and for some
Yeah.
reason, when I think just because the time went down to 30 seconds, he tried to go straight through, and that middle was like so blocked up, especially like that middle bottom was
Yeah.
so blocked up, which is where he tried to go, and just getting caught up for those like 5 little seconds or whatever was
Yeah.
enough for him to not be able to get his whole body out in time and get back to the start.
This looked like I want to do it competitively, but this looked like fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then Theo says something about like he watched like cave diving videos or something, or he watches cave diving videos.
that he's
Um,
seen too.
yes, and that but the strategy seemed to legitimately help because he is what 6'6",
Yes,
and much larger than Bananas. I also thought it was funny that they were both wearing leggings. I just thought it was funny.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
I love seeing men in
anything else
leggings.
here?
No, I liked this elimination, and then we get Theo going home, and then we get a reminder of karma points because Theo goes home and Laurel and Nehemiah go home. And so
Hmm.
we get a little re-up on karma points.
Oh,
Um,
I don't think you should get a karma vote if you're purged, but that's just me.
oh, interesting. Thoughts on Laurel giving Bananas a low score?
Hateration in the dancery. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Hateration and holleration in the dancery.
I don't know why she did that.
I don't know why she did that either. Um, but I don't think there's anything else for me. Well, no, targets.
Yeah, do you have the targets?
I do not.
Oh, it's super easy. So Bananas wins. He places a target on, because Tori is safe,
Hmm.
and his angels are now Rachel and Aviv and Jenny. So he has
Hmm.
3 women he can't pick this time, and there
Hmm.
are 3 other women who aren't safe. So he
Yes.
chooses Olivia, Michele, and Cara as the targets.
Yes,
And
yes.
Michele, of course, does have a penalty in the next daily.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna get rid of Michelle soon?
I don't know how much longer Michele can keep. Like, I'll be really surprised if Michele makes it past the next round, because I cannot imagine. Well, I cannot imagine why she wouldn't be the one to go in. Like,
Yeah.
and if she doesn't come in last place with a penalty next week, I can't
Hmm.
imagine why she wouldn't be the one to go in, unless the winner once again are like Tori and,
Hmm.
like it would have to be like Olivia's in last place, or maybe like Jenny's in last place or something like that, and then Tori and Jordan have power, and they
Hmm.
throw in Cara Maria for some reason to maybe try to get rid of like one of Banana's angels or
Yeah.
whatever the case might be, and Michele survives. If and I don't think that's going to happen. I think Michele's going to be in last place. I still think Cara is probably going to end up down there,
Hmm.
regardless of who wins. I know Michele has upset Cara in the past. I don't see it happening on back-to-back seasons.
Well, yeah. Oh, because the puzzle
Mm-hmm.
was the last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Cara hasn't been in it this. Maybe that is Michelle's path to the finals. Like, Cara hasn't been in it mentally. Perhaps Olivia is distraught losing her boo thing. Um, Aviv has a bum foot. Jenny has asthma.
Not
and
a
then
even her bum foot, and Jenny
and,
has
and and like
asthma.
Rachel's an old lady now. Rachel's still super fit, but she's 40 plus. So that might be
She
Michelle's
loves
path
getting those
to
hip bones out, by the way. She loves getting those hip bones out anytime
win.
she can.
That may be Michelle's path to the finals. But
That would be
if
wild.
I were the other women in the house, I'm getting Michele to that finals come hell or high water. If I'm a woman and I win on a day where Michele is not in last place, There's no chance she's going into elimination round. I'm saving that one for me in the finals. That's that's at least one person I know I can be in a. I mean, she
Yeah.
was last place today. If Laurel hadn't quit, like Laurel could have beaten
Wasn't she
her.
last place last week?
Well, no, I mean the finals, like because
Oh, yes, yes.
this was a preview of the finals. So like
Hmm.
specifically in a final, and yeah, yeah, no, she didn't make it to the finals last time. But like specifically in a final setting, which we got to see today, we got a preview of that today. Michele was like dead last on
Yeah.
every leg
Yeah.
of the finals of the
I
mini
see what you
finals.
mean. Yeah, because
Um,
then she would be theoretically easy to pick off.
yeah, she's a
Yeah.
layup. That's why we take the layups to the end. Yeah, like
There we go.
if I'm a woman in the game, if I'm Rachel, if I'm Jenny, if I'm Aviv, Michele is a nice looking like sacrificial lamb. I think like is Olivia is much more formidable than Michele in a final.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Michele.
Or
Oh.
even just save her for an elimination round before the finals, right? Like if Rachel wins next week, um Rachel does have ties to Cara, so it'd have to be like Aviv or something like somebody who doesn't
Hmm.
have like super close ties to Cara. But like if Rachel, Aviv, Jenny, or Tori win next week,
Hmm.
I probably throw Cara in. If there's a way to keep Michele out of the final, I keep Michele out of. I mean, out of the sand. I keep Michele out of the sand,
Hmm.
and I'd save her for maybe one day when I might be going in, and then I'd tell my allies, yeah, I want to go up against Michele because that
Yeah, because it's a
if
layup.
because I can beat her right before the finals, or I can beat her in the finals. Either way, that's just one less strong
Agreed. Completely
female
agreed.
competitor.
What's in my pocket? Oh my God. What the? Sorry.
Yeah, Michelle's not much of a layup. Like we've had more layups. I mean, we've had more layupy layups. Even this season, I think Katie is like the layup du jour.
Who the hell is Katie?
From she was eliminated in episode one. That's why you don't even remember her. The one who was here for a vacation.
Oh, yes. I was like, who are you talking
What did she
about?
win? She
Yes.
went in on a pole wrestle against Avery. No, Avery wasn't in there on that time.
I don't remember. Nobody not know how. Any any final? Oh wait, MVPs and LVPs.
Oh, Anissa. How about this? Why don't you give us your player of the week, Madeline's player of the week? Because let's
um,
just make this a singular award, like a unilateral
Instead of
decision
LVPs and MVPs,
of just the MVP. Just
player of the week,
your MVP, your MVP.
Tori.
Tori,
I've grown very fond of Miss Deal.
Tori, I will say Tori is not as annoying this season as she's been. Tori, she's giving me old school Tori. Little corny, but mostly likable. It's just
I
I'm
like
rooting
Miss
against
Deal.
her. I'm rooting against her faction. So nah, I can't. I
Who
can't.
do you want to win overall?
Cara,
Oh
well, I
God.
do want to say this. I do want to say this. I don't know what the final formatting is going to be like. If there's,
Hmm.
I think there's only going to be one winner, either the first person to finish the final, whether it's a male or a female. But
Hmm.
I really, really hope we can. I really want us to go back to the heyday of the challenge, like individual winners, like we
Hmm.
had on Free Agents and when else did we have this? Like we had
Like,
on Free Agents and the Rivals and the Battle of the X's and whatever, right?
hmm.
Where the first place woman and the first place man win
Hmm.
money, they win the championship title, and
Hmm.
then it's the top three men and the top three women. I really like give everybody money who like it should be a gold, silver, and bronze medal. We have a
Okay, I
million
like
dollars
that.
like we have $1 million to give out. 800,000 goes to the first place finisher. So the first place man and the first place woman take home 400 apiece,
Hmm.
right? And then with the other $200,000, let's split 150 to second place and then split 50,000 to third place. So like,
So 75, 25.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, I don't
like
mind that at
like
all.
like first place should get a bulk of the pot, like more than I say at least 70% of the pot should go to first place, but like
Mhm.
ideally I like to see them like 800K. Let's split 400, 400, 400. The Vendetta's win of like, only the first place finisher was like, again, a nice novel concept, but like we don't need to like rehaul the show because that's what we've been doing. Well, I guess we didn't do that on Total Madness, but that's what we've been doing recently. It
Yeah.
is so Nuri's won money. Second and third place did win last year,
But to me, this makes the most
but
sense.
I was thinking of largely about Spies, Lies, and like uh and
Prioritize.
Ride or Dies, I believe, where people were splitting their money. I want to see 1 through 3. I don't want to see a singular winner. I want to see 1 through 3, and I want everybody to get a little cash
Little
from the
cash.
game.
I like that. I like
You
that
want to
idea.
see some cash?
Who's your MVP?
Well, I didn't have one because this is now your award to give out, not mine.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, then, yes, I double down on Miss Deal. I like her very much. Um, honorable mention to Derek Swig.
Okay, no honorable mentions. We only get one winner now. Let's not get crazy. Let's not get carried
Fine.
away.
Just Miss Deal then. Also, I just like her name. It's a cool name.
Tori Deal, Victoria. Anything else from you, Maddie? Did you see the preview? I barely remember the preview, if I'm being honest.
I don't think I must have seen the preview because it rolled into the preview of the summit, but I don't remember anything.
I'm Oh, we saw there was a brief thing in the preview where it was like Bananas Angels has a fourth angel, and it was Josh toasting with the
Oh,
girl.
yes, yes, yes. I do remember that because the glittery edit of Josh. But other than that, I don't remember anything else.
I did want to look at the little the little challenge. It looks like a little obstacle course. It looks like that game that we had on Rivals with Adam and CT, where they're crisscrossing in an X. Why was that in an X?
I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
It's okay, but it looks like they like dug a thing into the ground, and you have to like go and retrieve balls. But then like
Oh, yes, yes,
there's like
yes.
there's like opponents coming from either corridor, but because
Yes.
of the way the hallways are constructed, you can't see to the left or right of you, so you're gonna bump into each other like at those intersections.
Yeah, there was something about balls and obstacles, wasn't there? And dirt.
Yeah, for
Oh, yes.
sure. For
As always
sure.
with the dirt.
All right, take us out, Maddie.
Mm. Well, thank you guys for joining us on this episode of the Reality Roundup, where we talk about the challenge season 40 Battle of the Eras. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share to help an upcoming podcast. Um, we will also be adding something to our roster soon to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
But probably just
TBD.
whatever. Yes, TBD. Probably just whatever Mariama chooses because I don't know nothing about nothing. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.